fam, it's time for the episode 3 of the Week of Leaks. And trust us, the things are just getting started. The leaks are flowing, and you won't believe what's coming next. So let's get right to it.
You commented asking, are we going to have an address book? And what's the first mounted device and when? So there's two separate questions there. I assume the address book is talking about, different land plots within Cornucopias. Will there be some kind of mechanism to track those land plots and
we've talked about so we've talked about address book. Probably what we've actually talked about. It's not like an address book, but I would call it the Google of Cornucopias, right? So a device that you can pull up and find locations of things. Where does my friend actually live? How do I get to them? Where is the nearest burger barn? I'm craving a burger. So just almost, because we're treating Cornucopias now, it's much more than I would say an MMO. It's a simulation. It's a multiverse simulation, and everything that you would understand about real life will at some point exist in Cornucopias.
So with that one was just a real quick one. The Google. So you think that one might be just like from your WIF or something like that, maybe.
Access throughout the sectors and
other things
like
that.
Because remember, in Colito Valley, they have those like computer screens set up that you can walk up to.
Yeah, and you can't do anything with yet, but they're there.
But I think there is a name for the internet service on those screens. I just can't remember what it is.
That'll give us something to go back.
When you go and look at that screen, if you change your camera angle to zoom in, I think there is already a name for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they talked about later or whatever. Caught it. I didn't know about 1, 2, and 3 on the keyboard changes your zoom and view and other things like that as well. So if y'all didn't know about that, 1, 2, and 3 changes that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 4 is
and 4 as well.
Oh yeah.
I like the ideas that they're throwing out. I mean, obviously, instead of just having a game feature, it's just really relating to what people do nowadays. Like, I'm gonna look for something, I'm gonna pull up my device and find it, or maybe I go to a cafe or a workstation, right, and find it. Something like that.
And on Grand Theft Auto, you can pull out your phone, you can call people, you can text people. There's almost like a Twitter.
Basically, yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the mounted device.
I assume, we've seen hoverboards. We've heard about mounts in the Kopi wiki. What are you thinking? Are there some thoughts happening within Cornucopias around those concepts?
What will be the first mounts? Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, could it be a hoverboard? Could it be a mechanical horse? Could it be it could be so many things. Is it a hover wagon? I mean, I don't know yet, or I either don't want to tell you yet because some things are in development right now. We're actually not sure what the first one is going to be because it's somewhat dependent on making sure that mechanics work well with it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I will take it.
So that one there talked about the hoverboard, and then Jupiter, I saw you when you talked about the horse kind of deal. I saw your eyes right up there.
When I first watched this and he said mechanical horse, that's one of the craziest leaks, most exciting leaks I ever heard in this project. I was my mind was blown. Like, mechanical horse. Can you imagine a high-tech mechanical horse? Now, that would probably not be the first one because that sounds like a lot of mechanics to work out.
Yes.
But man, that'd be insane. It had never even crossed my mind.
So when I was at Rare Evo and I talked to Rob and Josh and everything, he talked about it and everything, and he talked about the reason why they don't have vehicles is because of the mechanics of making the round wheels contact the unflat earth and to look properly is very, very time consuming and resource consuming. So that's the reason why all the vehicles are hover somethings. And he talks about hover cart. He didn't talk about just a horse and buggy cart and the hoverboard. And we've kind of had the jetpack thing that's been talked about. There was the leak that's later and everything that, could be a jetpack. But that was some of the insight that they provided, just talking to them there at Rare Evo.
If they're gonna come out with the horse, they got to have the Canadian Mountie outfit. That's something.
Oh man,
and a Wild West, 10-gallon hat or something.
Man, I could only imagine where we're gonna go with the outfits and the ability of corporations out there or people to create their own businesses, creating their own clothing for Cornucopias that's in an NFT form. The clothing designers are gonna stop designing actual clothes, and they're gonna design clothes in NFTs.
Man, I'm so excited about clothing. Rob said something recently in Discord that they were working on a number of clothing items. You know what I'm most excited about is imagine they do a partnership with a clothing company. Let's just say Nike, for example. And there's a specific Cornucopias like Nike sneaker. And the only way you can get that sneaker is you buy the NFT. And not only do you get the NFT, but you get the sneaker shipped to your house. Like, that would be so fire. That's the type of stuff I want to see.
Like some of the old games I used to play, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, where you'd be able to craft your own items, whether you were, leather goods or other type of stuff. That I always got into those trades types things as different games got better with that. I'd love to be able to do that in this game, to be able to craft your own trades. And maybe that means you have to go out and maybe create a 3D rendering of it, right? And then submit it to them, and then maybe it goes through something so they can actually come into the game. That'd be cool too, to take on creatives that people create, and then have a way to kind of onboard them into the game. That might be something.
So on that,
That's
they talk at some point. I don't know if I catch it in here, but I've heard them talk about all of the build items that they're building themselves to build around UE 5.3 are all things that in parallel they're building to be build out things for us, the people, to be able to use in our custom domes and whatnot there.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't have to be, designer game studios to be able to actually build our domes, kind of deal. Is where I was getting from some of that somewhere. It might be on here at some point.
Yeah, I was really interested. I picked up a custom dome, and it might be a couple years out. I think that's what they talked about. But no matter what the time length is, I think it's awesome to be able to maybe in the future be able to build out your own environment.
Make sure BioMex, you check out the updated roadmap, because they updated it less than a week ago, and it looks like domes are coming into play early next year. I'm not sure in how much capacity, but yeah,
some
I'm
capacity.
just digging into the roadmap, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll actually get into that. It's actually edited into here at one point when they actually talk about it. So that'll be something we get to get into here in a little bit.
Maxed out level 5 metalworks fit on all land plots, and if not, which ones can't it fit on? And
yes, that is a very that is a question that I don't want to talk about all the answers to, because that's still up for determination.
Sure.
He doesn't want to talk about all the answers too, but then he still continues.
There is an original thought that obviously if you've got a bigger plot, you're going to have room for bigger things and more things. So right. I don't think anything's going to change about that. Yes. So that's all I can really say.
That's fair. And there's some information that I'm recalling from the Kopi Wiki about certain like industrial sized buildings that will only be able to be placed on large, epic, and copious lands. So at least in concept, this is something that is expressed in the early iterations of how we might expect the game. Obviously, everything is could be changed, but yeah, I see where your head's at, Verdict, and I think adds a lot more value to those large, epic, and copious lands.
Wait, has nobody found like the little electronics shop that's in like Solus 2 yet? Nobody's found
Exactly why I went and looked for it.
What?
that. Yeah, so there is a plot example with like a fence and a few buildings, very work in progress.
Yeah.
I don't think it has the right collision or anything, but I left it there on purpose just to see if anybody would find it, and it kind of gives you an idea of how big some of the buildings could be. When you're placing things on your plot. So there you go. Everybody's going to raid Solus 2 right now. So
Yeah.
there is one there.
I think that's faux hubris behind the Around the Corn account, but he said he did find a building in Solus 2.
Okay.
So that's that's probably.
So I did go and I did find it, and I actually have a video on my channel about that and everything. So
Yeah, you and Crash went there, right?
Yeah. Me and Crash found it first, on like the other mountain. Then he showed me where it was at. We ran around for like an hour and a half before I found how to actually get up the mountain and everything. And then I went back to record it later that night once the sun came up again, for the video on how to get there. It's pretty straightforward on how to get there and everything. But he said it's an electronics shop. And I didn't catch that when I first heard that. So it's and that the industrial things are on the large, epic, and copious. So those are like your manufacturing deals and other things like that. And I've always kind of wondered why you can only search those three in JPEG Store. That kind of gives a little bit around that one or whatever. But when I go to search the size, it only shows me large, epic, and copious. But so then like your small and mediums are like your residentials and smaller shops and other things, potentials or other things like that. But what did y'all get from that?
Just what we already knew, which is that you'll be able to put bigger things on bigger plots. I don't think that we should guess too much about it because who knows, but the bigger the better. And what you were saying about you can only search the three sizes on JPEG Store, that was actually a mistake that was made when that page was created, and was nothing
just set
you can
there
do about it.
Oh well.
Yep.
So large.
Yep.
Large, that electronic shop is a large. I step it off and I go find it in there and everything. So that goes along with the fact that manufacturings can be on the larges and everything, and that's essentially what a base size of the manufacturing would be. It's pretty interesting.
I don't think that that's safe to say, because I think you can still manufacture on a small. You just would have a much smaller thing to manufacture with. So, for instance, you start off with a workbench, and then you work up to like a table. It's something like that, like a small progression. So I think you can do everything on every size, but you can just do it to a much bigger extent the bigger the plot you have.
So like
that's what I've always
guess.
So like the bigger the plot, the bigger the store or manufacturing. So the more items you can hold, or the more items you can manufacture before like your stock fills up or
the
something
more
like
players
that.
you can service. Yeah. So imagine if you were building a hotel, right? And let's say you could fit a hotel on a small. You might only be able to put 2 or 3 rooms, but on a copious, you might be able to put 30 rooms. You know what I mean? Who knows? I just think it's going to be. Now, I'm sure there'll be specific things like you can only do this on a copious, or you can only do this on large and up. But I don't think it will be. I think it'll be very specific. I don't think it'll be like you can't manufacture unless you have a large. I think it would be much smaller things than that. That would be different. You know what I mean?
You can't put a warehouse on a small kind of deal or something like that.
Yeah. But you could manufacture something, but obviously not fit like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't think they're gonna want to make the smallers useless, because that would just take away all their value.
I'm gonna have to set up an easy storage for all those small ones that need to store something. Yeah, people living out of the easy storage.
You might have a store on a small, but have a big warehouse that services that store on a copious.
And you have a game loop you have to set up of people to drive your stuff around from the different buildings and other things, or transition it around.
Or maybe you can hire an AI robot to do it for you.
Yeah. I'm curious to those different. Seems like it's the entrances where maybe those items are going to be shipped from zone to zone. Where the transportation of goods, where on the edges of the domes, those different way stations. and then there's plots around those. Maybe you're a processing plot.
That is really interesting, and I do want to get a plot close to one of those just in case there's something cool. Who knows? That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about those plots. I was like, those plots are out here on the edge, but I might need a nice edge plot.
I've thought about it. I thought about putting one out there. One just to kind of be away from everybody and everything. I've talked about what those things could be in a couple of my live streams that I've been doing, running around and everything. And some people have just said they're basically the dome generators is all that it is, and they've just kind of pushed it off as that it's just the dome generators. And I'm like, yeah, but it could be so much more. It could be how you come in and how like transports are able to come in or other things like that, like you were talking about,
or attached from other worlds,
other building points and stuff like that, possibly.
We're probably overthinking this part.
For sure.
and they love it. They love it.
And that's episode 3. If you think you've seen it all, think again. Tune in for episode 4 in 12 hours. Like, comment, subscribe down there at the bottom in the comments. Do it. Do it for me. A to Ace.